Best bets for the New Orleans Saints in the NFC South, ladies and gentlemen. Wager talk. Teddy covers and Kelly in Vegas. So we skipped ahead to the Saints portion. They're going to be walking through some of the best bets that they like for the Saints moving forward, and we will react along the way.
Okay, let's talk about the New Orleans Saints, 6.5 plus 160 to the over.
Yeah, so 6.5 plus 160-ish. Over 5.5 is like even money everywhere. So, I mean, 5.5 is widely available, and I would definitely push you towards the 5.5 over the 6.5. But if you're new here, what they're talking about is the over-under season win total, which is set at 5.5.
If you think the Saints can win 7 games, 12-1, the longest odds to win the NFC South, 121 to win the NFC, and 300-1 to win the Super Bowl. Teddy, I don't know what to make of the Saints team. Let's just break it down for what it is. You've got Kellen Moore in his first year as a head coach.
Real quick, so I keep saying this, but if you like the Saints to win the South or to win the NFC or to win the Super Bowl or to win 10 games or Tyler Shuck to be Rookie of the Year, just take Kellen Moore to win Coach of the Year. Last time I looked, it was like 25-1. All those things don't have to happen for him to win Coach of the Year, but if any of them do happen, he probably does win Coach of the Year. If the Saints do win 10 games, if the Saints do win the NFC South, if Tyler Shuck does win Rookie of the Year, if any of that takes place, Kellen's probably going to be the guy. And I think there could be an easy narrative around him, taking over a bad team. He just came off a Super Bowl win. The eyes are going to be on him just as a rookie head coach anyway. So if I was going to tell you to take a long shot bet, it would be Kellen Moore, Coach of the Year.
You've got Spencer Rattler in his second year, assuming that he's going to be the starter here. Break this team down in terms of a season win perspective. Okay. Maybe say some nice things that the Saints can be looking forward to.
No.
Damn it, Teddy.
So last year, the 5% big ticket was Saints under 7.5 wins. The first 2 weeks, they looked like the best team in football. And then they won 3 games the rest of the year. They finished 5-12. We cashed this one in early to mid-December. It was not a sweat when all was said and done with that 5% big ticket on New Orleans under. And the reason that I was so strong on New Orleans being under was I knew that they had no quality depth. This team's been up against it salary cap wise, and they kept kicking the can down the road. And as soon as the injury started last year, it was a disaster for them. 5.3 yards per play on offense, below average. I mean, middle of the pack, but below average. 5.8 yards per play allowed on defense. Only Chicago, Jacksonville, and Carolina were worse. 30th in total defense. 31st in yards per rush allowed. 4.9 yards per rush allowed.
Horrible against the run last year. Horrible.
Wasn't a turnover issue last year. -2 in turnovers. Nothing really there. They had a slightly easier than average schedule last year based on my powering numbers. The week the game was played. 2-5 in one-score games a year ago. Slightly more injuries than average. 74 players suited up. The offense really got decimated. The defense stayed reasonably healthy. The first time this year since Sean Payton arrived in 2006 and signed Drew Brees as his new quarterback that they have a new head coach, new QB same year. Keep talking about Kellen Moore. He was the Eagles offensive coordinator last year. He's going to call his own plays on offense. Brandon Staley. We talked about how a lot of times the rookie.
So real quick, like a lot of what Teddy's talking about here, like a lot of these numbers and stuff, they're bad. They should be bad. It was bad. And just like he was talking about YPP or whatever, what did he say? YPP was middle of the road? If YPP was middle of the road last year, then we should be feeling like $1 million. The way I look at last year at this point now that it's in the rearview mirror, that was as bad of a situation as a team or any of the players can be in. That is as bad of a situation as Spencer Rattler or any rookie quarterback could possibly be in. That is as bad of a situation as any new OC can be in. That is as bad of a situation as any running back, as any wide receiver can be in, is what the Saints were in last year. So the fact that they weren't dead last in every single offensive metric is nuts. And they're 2-5 in one-score games, like he said. That's kind of, I mean, that's another one of those numbers where the fact that they're in 5 one-score games with the roster and the team that they had and the situation they had and the coaching turmoil, I mean, anything that went wrong could have gone wrong last year. And the reason I say all that is If any of that comes back towards the mean, and you would think it will because of the injuries being resolved. I mean, obviously the players that were injured last year, besides Taysom Hill, are not still injured. Like Eric McCoy is back, Alvin Kamara, Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed. That is what gives me hope when it comes to the Saints being better than last year. And all they really have to do is be better than last year to flirt with or beat the season win total of 5.5. It's going to be tight because, 6 wins is right what we have them when we've done the schedule prediction. So we're not saying they're going to blow it out of the water by 2, 3, 4 games. It's going to be tight for sure, but what we saw last year, you have to believe they'll be better this year.
The head coach going to bring in a veteran coordinator. Brandon Staley, the former Chargers head coach, comes in and coaches the defense, which is, not what we're seeing from some other squads we talked about today. Off-season moves. Look, your quarterback quit in May. You didn't quit in January. You didn't quit in February. You quit in May. Awfully late. Derek Carr said, "Yeah, I'm not coming back." It's a legit quarterback battle in theory. The 40th pick, Tyler Shuck. And Shuck dropped as much as he did because he was 26 years old. All right. Yeah. And he did have 3 season-ending injuries in a very long college career at Oregon, Texas Tech, and Louisville. So he's got an injury history and he's ancient for a rookie. That being said, you talk about it's not about upside. It's about getting through this season, and Shook has a chance to win this job. Spencer Rattler was a rookie last year under a different coaching staff. Jake Hayner's now a third-year pro. Rattler and Hayner are combined 0-7 as starters last year. There's skill position talent on offense. There really is. Alvin Kamara, Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, Brandon Cooks. The offensive line looks solid. If Cesar Ruiz and Eric McCoy return from injuries effectively, number 1 pick, the offensive lineman, Kelvin Banks, Outland Trophy winner from Texas. So they've got skill position. They've got an offensive line. See if the quarterback plays okay,
And that's kind of what we've been saying, is that you take a step back and it's like, well, the wide receivers are good enough. I'm not going to say that they're the best, the best in the world, but they're, if nothing else, they're average as a whole unit. We know Alvin Kamara is good. He was good last year under a horrible circumstance while missing 3 games at the end of the year. All right. The offensive line, I think, and it sounds like a lot of people are starting to agree, that the offensive line is going to be good. Could be really, really good, depending on how good Kelvin Banks is. The offensive line could be one of the, I hate saying elite, but it could be one of the above average to great units in the NFL. All right. It is incredibly hard to be the worst team in the NFL when you have a really good offensive line, good offensive weapons. Hard to be bad. So even if everything else is just, let's say the quarterback position is below average, let's say the run defense continues to be bad, but let's say the offensive line is good. That does work out. If you just told me that, I'd be like, well, okay, I'd probably play the over at 5.5. Because it's just so difficult to be bad when you can dictate a game, when you can run the football, when you can protect your quarterback, and when you have skill position players like the Saints do, it makes it easy on a quarterback. Toss in the upside of Kellen Moore as a head coach. Toss in Kellen Moore as a play caller. Toss in Brandon Staley as a DC. All of those upgrades over last year. That's where I'm at with this, and I keep saying it every video because I want to make sure people do not think I'm sitting here saying I'm advocating for the Saints to be a 10-win team, 11-win team, 12-win team. All I'm saying is that they have the makings, they have the tools to not be the worst team in the NFL and to be a 6-win, 7-win, 8-win team. You're not hanging a banner for 6, 7, 8 wins, but you are cashing tickets if you take the over 5.5. And like the great Brent Musburger says, cashing tickets is what it's all about.
Either way, it's going to be a rookie or inexperience at the QB position, but there's at least some room to think that the QB may be able to succeed. Now, the defense is a whole other question. Tons of question mark. Yeah. Big schematic changes. They're switching defenses, switching to a 3-4. They're counting on 36-year-old Cam Jordan and 36-year-old Demario Davis.
The Cam thing, I don't know why people keep saying this. They are not counting on Cam Jordan. They are not counting on Cam Jordan to come in there and have 10 sacks. They already have their edge players. Like Carl Granderson and Chase Young exist. The Cam Jordan thing, I see more of Cam Jordan at Pelicans games than Saints games. Okay? That's nothing against Cam Jordan. Now, DeMario Davis, yeah, he will be counted on. And he has been, let's just say, above average as a linebacker. Saints have the 8th ranked linebacker unit from Pro Football Focus. The biggest question mark, defensive backs, interior defensive line. And the question mark with the defensive backs is, what's going to be the actual rotation? Who's going to be the one? Who's going to be where? What are they going to do with Alante? I would say the safeties are relatively, you're comfortable with them. Justin Reed, Tyrann Mathieu, in the grand scheme of things, is like an above average unit. Interior defensive line is the biggest question for sure. High level cornerback play, big question mark as well. No doubt about it.
And 33-year-old Honey Badger, Tyrann Mathieu, his 13th league in the league. I got a lot of concerns about the secondary. Marshawn Lattimore got traded last year. Paulson Debo bolted the Giants in free agency.
I mean, he got $60 million.
I like to lose. And they bring in Chase Young as their big free agent signing on offense. Juwan Johnson, I guess, the big on defense, I should say, is the edge rusher. Juwan Johnson, the big free agent signing on offense.
So Teddy's the verbiage isn't great here. Obviously, Juwan has been on the Saints. Obviously, Chase Young's been on the Saints. These were not free agent signings. These were just new deals.
And obviously, Banks and Shook, the first 2 draft choices on the opposite side of the football. The next 4 all came on D. 2025 schedule. NFC South teams face NFC West and AFC East opponents. Their 3 extra games are easy. The Giants, relatively easy.
Yeah.
The Giants, the Bears, and the Titans. They are bottom 5 in rest differential this year. It's the only team from these 2 divisions I'm talking about when it comes to rest differential, because it's the only team that something stood out in that regard. Opposing teams have extra rest. They face 3 teams coming off a bye and 1 team coming off a mini bye after playing the previous Thursday.
Remember, the Saints also do not have a primetime game. So every game is on Sunday. I think that's a benefit. Can you quantify it? Probably not, but it is something to remember.
They have 4 2-game road trips, back-to-back road games, which is always difficult for young QBs. No TV games. The schedule's set for irrelevancy. That said, if they're decent, the back half of the schedule, they can make a run. Carolina, Atlanta, Miami, Tampa, Carolina, the Jets, Tennessee, Atlanta, the last 8 games. If New Orleans is decent in any way, that's a stretch of opponents they could make some noise against.
The Tampa Bay Bucks.
So, like, when you're talking about the Saints and you're talking about a 5.5 win total, here's the real question. Or here, I guess, is like, this is the algorithm you have to punch in. How good would you have to hear that Tyler Shuck and / or Spencer Rattler is to make you confident in that number? I would say if they're anywhere around 23-ish, if there's, I was going to say 25, let's say 25. If they are the 25th quarterback in the league or above, I'd feel pretty confident in the 5.5. Because I think if you're 25 or above and you're playing Tennessee, New England, the Panthers, the Dolphins, the Jets, if you're playing those teams, it's like, well, damn. You're in those games. You're absolutely in those games with a top 25 quarterback. 100%. Because remember, ladies and gentlemen, if you're a top 25, there's 7 quarterbacks worse than you. There's 7 teams that are quarterbacked by a worse player than whether it's Tyler Shuck or Spencer Rattler. And more than likely, those teams will be who the Saints play. So the ceiling, or what we have to have in order to beat some of these teams that Teddy just talked about. Let's look at the schedule here. I mean, if you have a top 25 quarterback, all of a sudden, the Giants, the Patriots, the Bears, the Panthers, the Dolphins, the Falcons, the Jets, the Titans, all become very winnable. I'm not saying you win all of them, but they all become very winnable. And Yeah, do I think we're going to beat Buffalo? No. Do I think we're going to go to – this is a crazy schedule where you go to Seattle, then go to Buffalo. That's brutal, okay? But Giants, Patriots, Bears, Panthers, Falcons, Dolphins, Jets, Titans. That's 10 games against some pretty suspect competition. Like, it's not insane to go 6-4 in those games, in those 10 games, right? Like, these teams, because we have no clue what Justin Fields is going to look like in New York. We have no clue what Cam Ward is going to look like in Tennessee, okay? Who will be the quarterback of Miami come week 13? All right, what's Michael Penix going to look like? What? There's so much stuff that happens. I mean, the Giants, the Patriots, the Bears, like these teams are not that great. So, again, I'm tempering the conversation of, oh, well, the Saints can win the South or be a 12-win team or win the whatever. We are talking about winning 6 games. That's what we're talking about here. We won 5 games last year in one of the worst situations an NFL team can ever be in. Can you win one more? We should have won 6 games last year, or we could have easily with the Commanders game. And that's with Jay Kaner, giving them quite the head start. So I haven't played it yet. We'll see how preseason goes. We'll see how all that kind of looks. We'll see how training camp looks. We got to see who the starting quarterback is. But I am leaning towards, more than likely, if I know myself, I will be playing this over of the 5.5. I will absolutely have Alvin Kamara's over rushing yards. I've already given that out. I will absolutely have a position on Kellen Moore to be coach of the year. It's just waiting on the season win total and how it all looks. But there's pieces, there's pieces there. It could be worse. You could have Cleveland's wide receiver room or running back room or quarterback room or defense or offensive line. All right, there's a lot of other situations where teams are in a worse spot than the Saints. The conversation is entirely based on the quarterbacks. Entirely based. Now, yeah, if Tyler Shuck and / or Spencer Rattler are the 32nd best quarterback in the NFL, yeah, the Saints are going to be horrible. Any team with the worst quarterbacks will be bad. But if they can play at a below average level, like I said, top 25, I think a good offensive line, a great running back, good wide receivers, I can carry this team to 6 wins. All right, ladies and gentlemen, what do you think? Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.